It's the SKOR North Twin Show.
You know, we should just get right into the feedback here because there is a pointed question for Judd.
Uh-oh.
A pointed question.
Let's get it.
This is the SKOR North Twin Show, revived from the podcast junk pile after a couple years off. We revived this thing about a month ago. It was on the junk pile. We didn't do it for like 2 years because the Twins were
right. I was going to say, but it was not this. It was a SKOR North gem that the Twins sold. Yeah. So, like, I just want to make this very clear that Declan, Jake Depew, and Judds Rant were seen as upper echelon Twins analysts, and the Twins forced us to put it away.
Yeah, the Twins were, and maybe the Twins they're trying to force us to put it away again now after losing 3 out of 4.
Well, my hate is out of control, so now I won't be silenced.
So here's the question here. By the way, our mission statement on this show is we just want the Twins to win a playoff game for the first time in almost 20 years, and their magic number is 43 here. I mean, it has. You know, Cleveland, didn't they win? Did Cleveland win yesterday?
Yes, they did.
They cut it to 3.5 here. They did win a game finally. So It's the first time in a while that they haven't actually knocked a number off that magic number. But Declan and our massive graphics department will continue to update the Twins magic number graphic here for the YouTubers anyways. So here's the question from Cody Anderson. And we can take your questions for sure once or twice a week. We like to devote episodes to your questions via the SKOR North app and via the YouTube comment section. So keep hitting us up here. Cody says, "Hey Phil, why do Twins fans like Judd freak out and panic with every loss or poor streak by this team? I love the Twins, would love for us to get really hot, go on a run, obviously, but I'm realistic. Before the season, we were projected to be a roller coaster mid-80s win team who has a shot at the division and maybe 3 home playoff games to break the streak in the wild card round. Guess what we are? A roller coaster mid-80s win team with a shot to win the Central and break the streak with a 3-game series at home in October. I just don't understand the day-to-day freakouts. I'll judge us in September and October on an overall run rather than day-to-day, series-to-series freakouts when baseball is weird in a small sample size." Speak for yourself, Judd.
Well, the problem that Cody forgets, though, is what he doesn't remember is we didn't know exactly what to make of the starting pitching when the season started. The starting pitching has been, for the most part, magnificent. And the issue is this. Losing to Detroit on Tuesday, Eduardo Rodriguez was really good, okay? So, yeah, it's a loss. Hurts a little bit, maybe. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But the guy's really good. So you lose that game, and you're like, yeah, baseball. Guy starts, I mean, you put him on any team, good or bad, and there's a good chance that team is going to win. But then it's the next 2 games that are a problem. And if this was one small sample size, I would say, yeah, that's a little frustrating, but it's a small sample size. But the reality is, I feel like baseball fans want to always either expand the sample size or shrink it to what they want. And the reality is, as Patrick Royce has said, and he's exactly right, this Twins team is maddening because of the fact that they are getting good pitching. Yesterday, Kenta Maeda, who, by the way, when he came back, I'm like, I think his arm might be shot. Kenta Maeda, again, was just spectacular. He gave up a solo home run. And Kenta Maeda has had a lot of good starts. Like, he's been added to a pitching staff that was already doing really well. You know, Phil, you can speak to this. How long has it been since the Twins had this much starting pitching across the board where you're like, wow, this is really good? And the numbers back this up. This team has gone from sort of pitching dumpster fire to pitching excellence, and you are losing games in series consistently. And that's the thing Tom Kelly always said, and he was right. You want to win series in baseball. You want to win series. So nobody expects you just to sweep, but you want to win series. And the reality is this team has been far too inconsistent in winning series against teams like Detroit since the All-Star break, Kansas City. And so it's not the roller coaster, and the subpar play to me would be fine if your hitters couldn't hit and your pitchers were being hammered. It'd be frustrating, but you would get it. But it's a shame, and I've said this for months, it's a shame to waste this much good starting pitching. It is a real damn shame. And too many guys who you expect are out of slumps. Carlos Correa is like example A. Like, oh my God, he's got it. And then he goes back in a slump. So
but I think, I just to interject here, I don't think, but Cody is saying, but you're saying they've wasted it. Well, Cody is saying they haven't wasted anything yet. They're in position to, like, let's say they had performed better offensively and performed better against like the Royals and the Tigers, which I agree. There's been some really frustrating losses. This team feels like it should be much further than 3.5 games ahead.
Sure.
But if this team was 9 games ahead versus 3.5 games ahead, we'd still be having similar conversations about, okay, but do it in October, right? I don't think there's, even though the lead is down to 3.5, I don't think there's any danger of them actually not winning the division at this point. Cleveland has nothing left. We're seeing like the worst possible version of this Twins team still with a 3.5 game lead, and you'd like to think that Royce Lewis will be back and whatever. So I don't know. I don't think you can say they've wasted it until the season's over. That's kind of where I'm at with this. And you know me, I would delightfully hammer this organization.
Yes.
Much like we have the last 2 or 3 years. But I'm just kind of sitting here like, I mean, the pitching's still pretty damn good. It's going to continue to be pretty damn good. Could maybe use another reliable bullpen arm. And now we keep looking at our watches and trying to figure out, when is the full peak version of this offense going to come around? Is it when Kirilloff and Lewis come back healthy? When is Carlos Correa going to come around? So I think it's premature to say that they have wasted the pitching until we get further into, well, the playoffs, really.
I'm far more frustrated with it than that. And yeah, I mean, heck, if they can make a playoff run, good for them. But we have seen nothing to indicate offensively that they are going to consistently score runs. I mean, the Detroit series is an incredible example of that. 8 runs in the first 3 innings of game 1, 9 runs in the next 33. And that's sort of been the trend. The other thing that worries me, though, is like we keep waiting on like, okay, Correa's turned it around and now here he comes. We're into August, and then he goes, and then he backslides again. So that again is not a small sample size. That is a very large one that I think is somewhat concerning. The other thing is with Royce Lewis and with Kirilloff and unfortunately with Buxton, nobody stays healthy. That's the other thing. And you acknowledged the problem there last year by blowing your athletic trainer out and bringing in good old Papa Resta. And Papa Resta ain't been the antidote to those problems. So I guess the best way to put this is I am incredibly, incredibly skeptical that winning a god-awful division by a few games is going to like set you up for success.
But if the success is making the playoffs and winning a playoff game, they're still on track to do that. I think that's the most important takeaway that I have here. And their pitching is good enough for that to happen. Yes, their offense stinks. I know, Vinny. The offense is horrible.
No,
he's telling you. Either.
Vinny sides with Judd here, I feel like.
Yeah, he's like, listen to Sports Dad.
No.
Yeah, no. And why did we move so far away from downtown? We were right by Target Field too, Dad. You ass.
No, he likes the backyard a lot more.
You're saying that I agree with Declan. Like they're on track to win the division. It's not the way that they should probably be dominating the division. I agree with Judd on that front, but they're on track to win the division, and they're on track to run 3 really good starters out at home against whoever they play, maybe the Blue Jays. That's kind of where we're sitting right here. So,
and we'll see. Can they score runs? Can they score runs? Can the bullpen, when it's called upon, come through?
But they've scored the same amount of runs as the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have scored 8 more runs this season than the Twins. So if they get into a 3-game series against the Blue Jays, It's not like you're dealing with a team. Like if you play the Rays have scored 100 more runs than you. So there are some teams that would be problematic.
This is very, very hollow, in my opinion. Very hollow. That's how I feel about this team. And I think I reflect what a lot of fans think too. It's just very hollow.
Yeah, but I don't fully disagree with you. I just want to see the next 2 months play out before I come down with like a full. To me, they deserve at this point. Okay, you guys have been a little bit lackadaisical getting here, but everything's still in front of them. if this team decides to wake up and playoff Carlos Correa comes around and they go to the ALCS, which I know sounds crazy to some people.
Yeah, do that.
Like that is still a realistic path for the Twins to go and take 2 games at home in the wild card round, and then they get Baltimore or somebody in the second round, a team that hasn't done anything in the playoffs for decades.
I don't know you can flip that switch. That's my problem. When you're a lifeless collection of malcontents, I don't know that you can flip the switch. And they feel like a lifeless collection of malcontents.
Okay. Charles Raymond says, gentlemen, I have an idea for a talking point. If Carlos Correa turns out to be a bust, where would he land in terms of historical Twins busts? Would love your thoughts.
Historical Twins busts.
So are we talking about free agency or free agency?
It's hard to put it. I mean, there's been prospects. Feel like it'd have to be trades or free agents. I would say.
Caps.
God,
Caps is the one that comes to mind. But again, that was more of
Caps wasn't a bust though. Caps was actually a pretty good pitcher for this.
He helped you win the division. Yeah, it wasn't a good trade.
I mean, this would be number 1, I think, by far and away, right?
Yeah, I mean, the
considering
money,
commitment, term, expectation.
Ricky Nolasco was a bust, but not like commit your franchise bankroll type of a bust.
Yeah, and I don't hate Correa. I hated Nolasco. Like, he was just a meathead. Like, Correa's not. And look, I don't think Correa wants to fail. And I will say this again. I will continue to hammer this point home because we watched so many horse bleep shortstops. He's an unbelievable shortstop. But yes, if this continues, I think he is easily the top bust in that definition in franchise history.
Yeah. It's hard to. People might say, like, if you wanted to include Joe Mauer after the contract, but
well, you know who else qualifies? But like, again, it wouldn't be up to this. Tommy Herr. Like, he was a complete bust as far as a trade goes. And they thought, oh man, our second baseman for a long time, he didn't want to be here. But I mean, when you're looking at the totality of Correa, who tried to basically leave you twice, and then you brought him back, and I think he's number 1.
Yeah. Let's see here. Via the YouTube comment section here, Sean says, did you guys forget about Jose Miranda, or have you given up on him? All this talk about Lewis and Lee and Julian, but it wasn't that long ago that Miranda was tearing up AAA and even had a really solid rookie season. I don't think I've heard his name on a podcast in weeks. Right. I mean, it's kind of up to him. He's struggling to hit the ball at AAA this year. His OPS at AAA is under 600. Yeah. He couldn't hit in the major leagues this year. He's 25 years old, so at some point you get to your mid-20s and you got to produce at AAA for sure. If he were tearing up AAA right now, we'd absolutely be talking about him and wondering third base has been open for business for this team. Right-handed hitters are in need for this team, right? So it's kind of up to Jose Miranda at this point.
But I do think he's buried now. Don't you guys? Like, he's definitely not. There is no way that within one Twins way he is top of mind right now.
No, Brooks Lee has probably passed him at this point because now that Brooks Lee's at AAA, right?
Yes.
He was enjoying himself some Monday Night Raw on Monday. I did see him at Monday Night Raw.
Dude. We saw Nick Gordon and Jose Miranda just chilling like a couple rows in front of us at Monday Night Raw.
How's Nick Gordon doing?
Look good.
He's still. You mean physically, or?
Yeah, like, did he have is he out of the cast?
Yeah, I think he's been out of that. I think he's been out of that boot for a few weeks now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he was like crutches or anything. He was
hopping over the barricade and doing swanton bombs or anything. But
he hit someone with a chair. But other than that,
I think it's done for Nick Gordon here.
That's another. He was like the 5th overall pick, right? That's one that just goes kind of.
But I just don't know that he hasn't been. It's not his fault necessarily. But don't you think he's just been passed by guys?
Yes, he's at best a super utility player, which
he was Castro.
You need guys like that.
Like he was their Castro in 2022.
Yeah,
and I think they like Castro now.
Yeah, it's I mean, if he comes back and there's room for him, maybe 2024 to be the super utility guy, but they if Polanco, if they don't bring Polanco back, and you could just use a guy to play 15 different positions, right? Let's see here. Dan Learhoff chimes in. Okay, this looks like a therapy session here for Dan. So I'm just going to read some of this, and you guys can help as needed. Or if you're Judd, you can pour gas on this fire for Dan. That's what Judd is. Judd's like the Twins therapist, where you come in and you talk about your marital problems, and you talk about how the kids are driving you nuts, and the therapist is like, yeah, screw out. Oh, yeah, yes.
You know what?
Leave your family.
A good marriage therapist sometimes, I think, will just say, it's time to
over.
Go.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah. You know what I do? Truth teller. I don't try and sugarcoat this crap.
Well, let's find out. Let's find out what therapist Judd's advice is for Dan Learhoff here. Dan says, can someone please address the elephant in the room with the Twins? The Twins have the bones of a very special team, which could turn into a dynasty. But after this season, the entire management team needs to be fired. All caps. I don't care if they fall backwards into a playoff win or even a World Series championship. Whoa, Dan. Dan is saying even if they win a World Series, they all need to go. This team has a manager who doesn't hold anyone accountable, lets the players run wild. The entire team called a mutiny against the hitting coach, and somehow he still has a job. Falvey and Levine collect injured players like they're Pokemon. The front office has an arrogance and stubbornness of an ex-girlfriend who can never admit they're wrong. Gallo should have been DFA'd a month ago. I wouldn't trust this management team to run my fantasy team, yet have the chance to mess up this special young core of players. They all need to be fired.
That's incredible because it started off too strong, but then it was exactly right. Like his point by point, I really enjoyed, and he's not wrong. They're not being fired. I think if things go bad here, Baldelli, I think might be, but that's it. Like Falvey is not being fired.
They wouldn't clean house, especially if they win the division again, right?
Well,
there's no way. In fact, if they win the division, everyone's coming back.
They'll be feted as the great, I mean, let's call a spade here. I mean, if
they win a World Series, there'd be statues would go up of some of these
there's a convertible going down 94 in a snowstorm with those guys waving on November, whatever, 3rd or 4th, they all get statues.
I need Dan. I would love for Dan to be in charge of this operation for like the day after they win the World Series. And Dan, who's kind of happy that they won the World Series, but still seething because they won it despite Derek Falvey.
Even I wouldn't be upset about that.
No.
Oh, this is a step further than Judd being asked, hey, if they win a playoff game, would that make you happy? And you pause for a few seconds and say, depends on what the game looks like. Depends on how they win it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's one step beyond that.
If it's one on a balk, I'm not going to be happy.
So, I mean, dude, I think Gleeman put out a stat that Joey Gallo over his last 1,000 plate appearances. So this is multiple years of Joey Gallo. 1,000 plate appearances. He's hitting 166 with 400 strikeouts.
It's almost like a guy a year ago told you he wouldn't out the Twins lineup or anything.
Wow.
Look at this guy.
Wow.
Just,
somebody's feeling their oats, as they like to say.
I feel like that was an unnecessary drive-by. Now, Joey Gallo has given you exactly what
he's Gallo. Yeah,
isn't he leading the team in home runs too? Like he's giving you the Joey Gallo things that you.
It's the ride.
Might be tied with Kepler, but yes,
he's tied. They both have 18 home runs. But Joey Gallo's hilarious because he has 18 home runs and 34 RBI because he can't drive in runs unless it's a 3-run homer or a solo homer in his case.
It's not a great experience, I'll say that.
And also, can I make a point too that just to defend myself? My point was, hey, last year he's available to just claim. Why not pick him up? You're struggling. When they signed him and devoted like $10 or $12 million, it was like, okay, all right, we'll see where this goes. But to still be clinging to him after the experiment has sort of run its course, I don't know. They got enough guys that could probably give you what Joey Gallo gives you and then more.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre. I don't even know if the Solano injury doesn't happen earlier this week. Like, is his time up? No. But they clearly still like him for whatever reason.
That last note was exactly right. They have problems admitting their mistakes. It's very clear.
Yeah, they.
I don't think that's debatable.
But I mean, the Max Kepler thing. they were ultimately, at the end of the day, they had a hunch or a feeling, or they were just stubborn and they just waited long enough. He came around. Right. But actually, anonymous user here on YouTube says, interesting how Mackey and Declan act like Judd was the only one who is anti-Kepler. All three of them were bad-mouthing Kepler a month ago. Declan even said Kepler should be DFA'd. How about apologies from all three of you guys? I mean, I don't remember any. I don't remember any of those things. I think Judd just been the negative.
I still would have traded him. I still would have traded him.
He's a hot summer fling, literally, and you're not picking up his option. He's not someone you commit to. You're having a fun summer, and that's it. Move on and find a better committal relationship than Max Kepler.
And I think now that they actually will pick up that option, because in their minds it's going to be justified as to not trading him.
Well, and here's the other thing. So he's, even with this massive hot stretch for the last 2 months or whatever it's been, he is a break-even average offensive hitter. He has an OPS plus an OPS that's just a tick above average, OPS plus. And on the season, he's been worth 1.1 wins above replacement. So he's like a pretty good defensive player who's like a league average hitter. And that's certainly better than just having, a random quad A guy out there.
Jason Tanner?
We're doing these, Matt Tolbert or somebody. But we're doing this victory lap now, I feel like, Max Kepler, see? But, like, what's the goal here? If you would have told us, hey, a few years ago, hey, the goal is for Max Kepler to be a league average hitter who's pretty good in the outfield. He's like a 1 or 2 wins above replacement player. We would have said that's a disappointment. Despite the hot streak, he has still been overall disappointing relative to the barometer that was set for him, right?
Absolutely.
So, and then let's see here. Mike Malkovich says, is the 5-minute clock on the Immaculate Grid you guys do, is that an Immaculate Grid thing, or are you guys doing the 5-minute clock to yourselves? I'd rather watch you guys try for obscure players and try to win than guess because the clock is running out. I'm sure I'm not alone. Maybe do it without the clock. The problem is if we don't put a clock on it, we would literally sit here for like a half hour trying to name like a Rocky who was a Mariner.
Which, don't get me wrong, us three I think would do. But for the audience's sake, we cannot do that.
Just 50 minutes later, oh God, there's a pirate who was a.
When I spurned you guys the other day. Granted, I did that one with the Twins. When I did that one actually pretty quickly. But typically, what I used to do before we incorporated in the show is I would wake up, I'd start the Immaculate Grid, I'd knock off the easy ones, I'd go to the shower, and then I'd be driving into work just thinking of who was an Oreo with the red sock again, and then bam, it would come to me on my 20-minute drive into work, and then I'd fill out the rest of the grid when I parked the car. That was usually my order
stop
of
signs, red lights, hitting pedestrians.
Just deep in thought about the 98 Phillies,
Jared Salty Amakia on the World Series.
Semi trucks going by.
You're getting T-boned. You're like,
Tony Womack.
I got it. My car's ruined, but I got it.
Tony Womack. Wow.
Yeah.
We should incorporate Tony
Sanguian.
Yeah.
So we do it to ourselves because I don't know. Like, do you really want us to sit here when we're stumped for like 30 minutes in silence as we?
I mean, the only other thing, and I'm not suggesting this is a good idea, but I think we did get a tweet about this. The only other thing we could do at times is incorporate actual shows that are just the Immaculate Grid show, and then take our time. And if you want to watch that, you're committed to that.
But like, when does it end though? That's the thing. It's like if you're stumped, you sit there for 2 hours, and then finally it came to me.
I don't know. That's but if you want to watch that, like if we said this is going to be us doing the football, hockey, or baseball Immaculate Grid, and that's the show.
They did. John Boy did one. They do one every Thursday, but they make their own one. And like yesterday's was only team. All-star game, only team, all-star starting pitcher, and home run derby. And the Twins were actually one of those teams. But like we could start our own style basically of the Immaculate Grid. We will have to get our graphics team on that, so that might have to be a
we can sell it to Baseball Reference for a little chunk of time.
Perhaps we could get our street team to work with our graphics team.
Yeah, we'll put a ticket in. I'll put it down the pipeline. We'll see where it goes from there.
Okay, so that's why we do it. We're working on some big ideas here. Before we get to the Immaculate Grid and put those 5 minutes on the clock, let's shout out our friends at Power Lodge and Miller Marine. All about throttle therapy here. If you're a frustrated fan of the local baseball team, Judd, maybe it's best to take a day off and get out on the water, get to Power Lodge or Miller Marine, get on one of these pontoons, huh?
Amen. I mean, look at that. Look at the relaxation. Look at me doing that somersault into the water there. You're saying, is that really you, Sports Dad? I'm going to tell you, of course it is, because you can't tell. It's not, right? But anyway, yes, you know, and if you are a masochist and are like, I have to listen to my Twins, get out there on the Bennington from Power Lodge, and you can turn the ball game on the radio while you just drift through getting relaxation, probably sipping on a beverage. So yes, the one way to get yourself sports therapy is to get on that pontoon.
Yeah, Power Lodge is actually unveiling 25 days of deals to celebrate their 25th year in business on all the latest off-road and on-road vehicles too, and boats and supplies from the top brands in power sports. So check it all out at powerlodge.com, powerlodge.com. Also a shout out to our friends at EcoFun. So EcoFun is all about helping you enjoy your time on wheels as well here. So EcoFun right now with their electric bikes, with their ATVs, with their golf carts, and all sorts of other fun goodies has you covered for the rest of summer going into the fall season. EcoFunMotorsports.com. You can support us too when you go in to either the Forest Lake shop off 35 or the Burnsville shop celebrating its 1 year in business off 35W, and tell them that we sent you in. You can help us. EcoFunMotorsports.com, EcoFunMotorsports.com. All right, boys, let's put 5 minutes on the clock here. So for the Immaculate Grid Challenge, we must go 9 for 9 to be immaculate. They do count rarity score. So like if you pick obscure players, it'll tell you the percentage of other people that pick that player. If we're trying to show off, we'd go for the more obscure players. We've run into some trouble doing that. So our first goal is to just go 9 for 9.
This sucks.
There's no stat. There's no season stat in this one. These are all teams.
It's all teams. So
I like all teams. Arizona and Miami. Are you serious?
Have you ever not complained about it?
You've complained either there's not enough teams, and now there's too much obscure teams. Pick a lanes, all gad.
So here's what we're looking for. We're looking for a Brave who was a Diamondback, a Brave who was a Giant, and a Brave who was a Marlin. We're also looking for a Cub who was a Diamondback, a Cub who was a Giant, and a Cub who was a Marlin. And then a Red who was a Diamondback, a Red who was a Giant, and a Red who was a Marlin. We'll put 5 minutes on the clock. Here we go. The Cubs should be easier here for us, Judd, because we... how about like Derek Lee was the first baseman for the Marlins and the Cubs. Also, who was that shortstop?
Did Luis Gonzalez have time with the Cubs?
Yep.
Astros, of course,
1997, right? I'm pretty sure.
Game-winning hit for the Diamondbacks.
He played for the Giants too, I think, didn't he? I think Gonzo went to the Giants. I know.
Oh, I don't remember him as. I just seem to recall him as a because he was with Houston for a long time, and then I think he went to the Cubs, and then I think he went to the D-backs.
I think you're right. Let's do it. Luis Gonzalez. If we're wrong, then whatever. That's the way.
9%.
Yep. Okay, 9%. For Cub, who was a Marlin, let's just knock some of these out. Derek Lee, or who?
I've got one for you. For Cub, who was a Giant, though. So yeah, go.
And that's Derek. It's I believe it's spelled differently. It's different. It's DERR. There you go.
Nice.
Where'd it go?
Yep, you just had it. Nice work, Phil.
There it is.
That's out there. Derek Lee.
I forgot he had an extra R. Oh, okay.
14%.
Cub, who was a Giant.
Rick Beck.
Rick Russell. Rick, R-I-C-K. Russell, R-E-U. Yep,
There you go.
right there.
Okay.
2%.
2%. Nice work.
Tim Hudson for a Brave and Giant.
Let's do it.
10%.
Fred McGriff, Marlin and Brave, right?
Was he a
Did
Marlin?
Fred McGriff play? Nah, he might not have played for the Marlins. That might have been the Rays. Scrap that.
Edgar Renteria. Didn't he start at shortstop for both those teams?
That's like a Edwin Jackson type of guy. He was everywhere. I feel like.
I like it.
For Marlin and Brave.
I'm pretty sure Edgar Renteria was a shortstop for both. I know he was Marlins. I'm pretty sure he was also Braves.
I'm gonna hold that.
We
one.
can hang on to that one if we okay.
Justin Upton, right? Did Justin Upton go to the Braves after the D-backs? I know BJ went there. I thought both of them were teammates at one point too.
They were teammates at one point. It might have been with the Braves. They definitely were teammates at one point.
And Justin Upton almost won the MVP 1 year with Arizona. I think Justin Upton's safe there if we want to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Justin
Yeah.
Upton.
Yeah, if you
Let's
trust
try
it.
it. That's right.
You've been good at this game. You've been money.
Except for that one time. But,
Yeah,
Okay,
26%. Pretty high.
okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
we'll save Renteria. So we need Reds now. A red who was a giant.
Did Mike Leake pitch for both those teams?
Oh God, not Mike Leake again. Don't
Wow,
don't
dude,
Mike
we're gonna
Leake
go
us
Mike.
again.
We're gonna go Mike.
No.
Leake.
I'm
Wait, or
thinking
wasn't
of,
Mike Leake
again.
wasn't it Diamondbacks? Didn't he win a Gold Glove with the Diamondbacks? Isn't that why we got the other one wrong that one time?
No.
Remember that? Mike Leake.
Yeah. That sounds right.
San Francisco and
But that,
Oh,
Bronson
Joe Morgan.
Arroyo pitched for what? Joe Morgan?
Joe Morgan played for both those teams.
for
Now
which
he's
teams?
a great.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. He played for the Giants and the Reds.
Not the
Okay.
Marlins or the Diamondbacks. Who
Yeah,
weren't
he was.
around.
Yeah, I think he was spewing lies about his playing career by then.
Okay.
Okay. Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan.
We got 2 minutes left here. Minute 35. So we're good.
63 to 84 or 53 to 63
Calm down,
to
Ryder.
84, right?
Yeah, you're good there.
Yes. 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 Yes.
I think
8%,
Matt
nice.
Matt Latos, I believe I think he was
Was he Marlins and Reds?
Marlins for a bit. He was with those division teams too, right?
I think he was a Red. I think you might be onto
Yeah.
it here. Oh boy, how good do we feel about this one?
5%.
Oh, nice
Bam,
work.
let's go.
Let's go. A Red who was a Diamondback. 1 minute left. We have Renteria in our back pocket for the top right one. Red who was a Diamondback.
Red who was a Diamondback was.
I mean, Mike Leake, dude. I swear to God, it's how we know Mike Leake was a Red. You
Okay.
thought he was a Gold Glove winner,
Okay.
but it was
All right.
for right.
Do it. Pull the trigger. Let's find out.
Let's come full circle here. I'm sorry if I'm wrong.
3%.
No, 3%. Nice.
Okay, and then I keep
much
saying
time do we
Edgar
have?
Renteria. We have 30 seconds left.
Okay, do you think of any former Twins that were both these guys?
It's a great question.
Marlins.
Not Rosario.
Yeah, not Kyle Gibson. Idiots.
Kevin Slowey went to the Marlins right after the
He
Twins.
did.
I don't think he went to the Braves though.
Yeah.
12 seconds. 12 seconds. Let's go. Let's do
Just
it.
pull
Edgar
the
Renteria.
trigger. Pull the
Edgar
trigger.
Renteria. Come on, one time, Phil. Come
Let's
on.
go. Let's
Why
go.
do I think this so adamantly?
Let's go.
Yes!
Yes!
Look at the rarity score.
Wow. An 80 rarity score too.
That's our best.
Rarity score.
That's our best. That's collected.
Yes.
Nice work, you guys.
Amazing.
Nice work.
What were the hardest ones?
Or Jorge,
Jorge Soler was on
yeah.
multiple.
Jack Peterson.
Mark
wow.
Grace.
Oh yeah, Chris Bryant. That's a good one.
God, Jorge Soler.
Johnny Cueto is another.
Yeah, but
obvious
he's 34% as the most
Yeah.
popular one. We got Rick Russell. good
everything was
fat
above.
pitcher.
Everything was above 50, but there were some 60s for Marlins,
All right.
Reds, and Diamondbacks and Reds.
Yeah.
All right.
one. Great work, you guys. Great work.
2%.
The Immaculate Grid Challenge here.
You know what? Fit it in 5 minutes. How about
I mean,
that?
if we legit thought of a like 10% or under for Brave and Diamondback, we're probably under 50.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Everything else was under 10. Derek Lee, I guess, was 14. But
The other one there was a shortstop that played for the Marlins and the Cubs that I'm blanking on his name. He had the same exact name as another shortstop
Yeah,
in the league at
he's
the
on
same
the
time.
that made the
And I-
error against the
Yes.
Marlins,
What
right?
the hell was that guy's name? It was like a really it was like a really common name. I
Yes.
can't remember what it is.
and I think we could have used our guy Edwin for Diamondbacks and
Braves. Yeah, we could have.
That's
too.
okay. We did great, you
have.
guys.
We could have.
Hey, great job. We can feel good going into the weekend here. All right. Please give us the SKOR North Twin Show a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts. Help spread the word about this thing. And click the like button and the subscribe button on the SKOR North YouTube channel. And we'll see how our Twins do this weekend. We'll see you for State of the Twins on Monday.